You're listening to The Coach Show with Coach Banks, Coach Swanson, Coach Kozlerich, and Coach Doherty on the Coaching Culture and Athletics Radio Broadcast Network. Sit back and enjoy the show. The views and opinions discussed in this podcast are not necessarily the opinion of the host or the Coach Show on the Coaching Culture in Athletics Radio Broadcast Network. Let's get it done.
Hey everybody, I want to welcome you back, to CCA. After our brief hiatus last week, I'm going to start unmuting the boys right now here. We've got quite a panel, and Coach Wilson. I don't think that there's ever been 6 coaches here and 5, putting you on the hot seat. Are you excited?
I'm ready.
All right. Okay. So just like each and every week, I'll be going into the comment. Well, you know what? I'll go into the comments because someone has just, someone has just made a remark. It's Quentin Ross. He says, Coach D, I'm out. There you go. Okay. So the very first, he actually defeated your mother this time, which is, that's like going against the grain, brother.
She's slacking. I think a week off hurt her.
Oh my goodness! All right, so we'll go in with the 5 questions, and they're fun and exciting, and I hope I stump you, Coach. It's one of those things, right? Okay, here we go. Here's number 1, Coach Wilson. What is one article of clothing that someone could wear that would make you walk out of a date on them?
Man. Yeah, that's a good one. What would they wear that make me walk out on a date with them? Probably a Chicago Cubs shirt.
What? Oh my goodness.
Get this guy off now. Get him.
Okay. Whoops. I didn't mean to eject you from the seat there. All right.
Wait a second. That question is walk out on a date. Like he's going to take him on a date with what they're wearing, right?
No.
So a Cubs shirt. I like
it. Oh my goodness. Here we go. All right. Question number 2. Okay. If you could bring back any fashion trend, what would it be?
I mean, some of the kids are rocking it now, but I think, like the mullets and the crazy haircuts like that with all the lines in the side of their heads and, just crazy hair stuff.
You know what? I would love to see Coach Bryant in a mullet and a mustache.
That will never happen.
I think the mustache would be great. I think you should start growing that out. You got no one to see for the next few months.
That's true.
That's pretty good. That is a pretty good one. All right, here's question number 3. You have to sing karaoke. What song do you pick?
Ooh. Probably Garth Brooks' Rodeo.
Evan, what are you picking?
Good call.
Ooh, Longest Time by Billy Joel. Shocked, I know.
Nothing's happening for the long. Okay, never mind. I won't sing it. Okay. Question number 3. We'll all answer this one. What's your favorite sandwich and why?
Ooh, I'm a big ribeye sandwich guy.
That's Now medium rare or well done?
Medium rare.
Okay, that's perfect.
All day.
Coach Doherty?
I'm simple, man. Peanut butter and jelly all day.
Coach Hodges?
I might have to agree with him on that. I mean, a good peanut butter and jelly is something that you can always go get a hamburger, but peanut butter and jelly is something you don't really think about all the time. But when you think about it, it's the best.
Coach Swanson?
Pulled pork sandwich. Always delicious.
Okay. Coach Bryant?
Chicken bacon ranch from Subway.
Okay. Well, I have to have like a double R dairy bar tenderloin. Okay, breaded tenderloin. That's good stuff. But I do like the ribeye steak. Now, they say that sometimes we're in a situation where we can't afford the delicacies of a great sandwich. So you grab two. You want a jam sandwich. Just grab 2 pieces of bread and jam them together.
Hey, Coach Doherty, I'm surprised you didn't say veggie sub.
Man, I hope Brock's not watching.
Veggie sub. All right, so here's our final question, and you know what, Coach? All of us will do this one. This one's kind of fun, but we'll start with you, Coach Wilson. What would the title of your autobiography be?
Oh, jeez. Big Willie style.
Okay. Coach Hodges. Now you have to use the PG-13 autobiography title.
Oh, Eric Burns. I don't know if you guys probably know him, old baseball player. He actually probably took mine, but he has one that's called F It. I don't know, but it's about just like life in general. Just, hey, you can't worry about a lot of stuff that goes on. Things are going to happen, but it's how you overcome them, I guess. So,
okay,
that's my PG version.
Coach Bryant?
Just roll with it.
Just roll with it. I kind of like that. Coach Doherty?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. I'm struggling here. I have no idea. I would probably want my guys to name it.
Well, I thought you were going to say family with the big M.
Yeah. Yeah.
Coach Swanson, careful.
Oh, yeah, you're putting me on the spot. This is tough. I mean, I could think of 100 ones, but if we're going to appropriate, I'll just say don't stop. Don't stop.
I like that. Mine is the mad culture present in athletics, which we are giving away one copy of that here this evening. So make sure that you have to stay to the end, though, and we'll make sure we do that. We do have a few other shout outs, and you know what? Mama was second.
Hi, Mama.
Okay. We got Michael Mosina. Okay. We got to give him a shout out. Great kid. Looky here. I think this is probably for Coach Wilson, right? Okay. Coach Wilson into cut. Or is he talking about the cut? Maybe it's that. Yeah. Okay. Diego called PB, and I don't know what that means, but we'll go to the next one.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Hey, Navarro is currently eating a ribeye steak. Okay, he's, have you told this kid to do this a few times, Coach Wilson?
I haven't talked to him for a while, actually.
Get on the line, and then here we go. Awesome. Hope to speak with you all soon. That's pretty awesome when that happens. Now, Coach Wilson, we're going to keep it fairly laid back. I know that a lot of us we're dying to get back to the basics, dying to get back to the gym out on the green grass, the sandbox of summer. What are you doing with your time to keep yourself motivated and basically mentally in it?
Yeah, it's quite the time right now with all this, and honestly, I haven't even watched a lot of TV. Sit on social media, Twitter, things like that, doing stuff around the house, in the yard, trying to keep busy. I'm still going into work probably 4 or 5 hours a day, do quite a few conference calls throughout the state of Iowa with other Ys and stuff. So there's still a little bit of normalcy within that aspect of life for me. So I go in roughly 9 to 3, 9 to 2 every day. So that takes up a big part of my time. And then, hanging out with family and my daughter, and things like that. But, it's just crazy. Go out to eat. Well, not out to eat, but go get food and bring it home and whatnot. Try to help support local businesses in that aspect. But, I've done some Zoom meetings with our basketball players. We had a Zoom meeting Friday with all the coaches in the district, and the AD led that. That was pretty fun. The thing is, it's not just, me in Fort Madison or you guys at Central Lee. I mean, it's everywhere right now. And let's just hope it's done soon and over with, and we all can get back to normal lives and normalcy, whatever that might look like going forward.
Yeah, I think I think the world as we know it, is definitely changed. I know when Coach Swanson came on, that was the song I was playing, the REM song, right? It's one of those things. Does anyone have any questions for Ryan before I continue to banter?
Continue away.
But you're like Dr. Question, dude.
Continue away. I got a couple. I'm just still forming.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Now, Ryan, what are you saying to your kids as far as trying to help their mental fortitude and keeping them up? What are you talking to them about, like off-season things that they can be doing at home, versus in the gym, this, that, and the other?
Yeah, and I think the biggest message that they need from us as coaches or anybody is just positivity. It sucks for everybody. Let's be honest. So just stay positive, keep working. Whether it's on the basketball court or whatever sport it is that they want to work on. But on top of that, stay active, stay busy within exercising. Lifting weights. Get creative if you have to. Find stuff around the house that you can lift and do reps of and things like that. So, we had a conference or a video call Thursday, and some of the kids are, they're in the driveway, dribbling basketballs and doing stuff in their house and getting shots up. I think a lot of them are getting a lot of quality time on NBA 2K, so I'm sure they're getting really good at that right now. But, let's be honest, as much as we probably don't like video, I'm not a big video game guy, but it's probably a good thing for these kids to have that access to that stuff right now to keep them busy and I guess out of trouble. But again, it's just about being positive with them and making sure everybody's going to get through this and keep working. Don't stop working at home and don't stop getting better. And you can get better in many different aspects right now while the world's on pause.
Absolutely. I saw, it was a post here recently that had mentioned something like that, or just work on becoming, it's the little things, the intricacies, to be a better person. Coach Hodges, I'm going to give you the next question and put you on the hot seat. Guys, when he's shaved and he's not wearing his hat, he looks like Pitbull. I think he's Pitbull.
I need to get a little more tan. and I got to take a little off the sides, I guess. I would go for a mullet, but it'd be more like the Hulk Hogan kind of a. And I would love to do that, but my hair only grows so much, so I don't know. Man, let's see here.
Well, here's one thing to keep in mind. Tonight, you guys are blessed with two coaches that have coached on state championship ball clubs. Coach Wilson, Coach Hodges. Coach Swanson, you've been on a state championship basketball team. You played on it, and I know that you coached on some pretty big teams. The rest of us, we're hoping to attain that someday and someday soon. But what is that like? I mean, that ride, Coach Wilson, to reach that pinnacle, and it just explodes.
Yeah, it's quite the experience. Now, from a coaching aspect, I haven't necessarily coached at a state championship, but I played in high school.
Yeah.
But going through that whole process was unbelievable. It was almost like a dream. You're like, did this really happen? When it was all said and done. And it's been 20 years ago this summer when that happened. But you're literally on top of the world for a while, celebrating and things and going through it, and then you get back to work and zone back in. But even as a coach, we went to 2 sub-state games back-to-back in 14 and 15. And, even that atmosphere was pretty electric and the community support and those kind of things. And it's just awesome to see the community support your school and your teams in those situations. And, it's hoping to get to the state tournament again and hopefully win a state championship someday soon, but would be great. And, it's a great feeling.
Absolutely. Now, Doherty, I misspoke because you've had some state champion wrestlers.
Yep.
And I got to make sure that, that I add that back. Coach Bryant's going to have some state championships, down the road too. I can see it in his caliber, so it's pretty good. Coach Hodges, you would say the same thing, man. It's a dream, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's kind of funny. The coaching staff and I talk about it all the time. I really think that the sub-state game, the state championship game was, you're there. You want to be there, win or lose. I think the state or the sub-state games are probably the most stressful for me anyway, just to know, hey, I want to be one of those 8 teams that get there. And, it's kind of like once you get there, there's a big weight lifted off your shoulders. And I think, Chuck, you and I had talked about this where, you can go win a state championship and you earn a lot of individual awards. And those are great for the season that you had, but it's about the guys, obviously, or the girls. And probably the next year after winning a state title to be able to go back in an upper class, that was probably mine and our coaching staff's best year coaching, with some injuries and adversities that went on and the guys that we lost. And it's just tough. I mean, everybody wants to get there, but as soon as you gain that momentum, I think it's something that people say, oh, I'm satisfied with maybe one. I'm not. I want to get back and keep grinding and keep getting after it. But I'm glad you said that about the sub-state game, Ryan, because I was going to say that too, is that I think that's just the most stressful game for the players, for me as a coach, just to be able to get back and know that, hey, I can get there.
Ryan, what do you bring to the table as far as, when you're prepping, you're getting your kids ready, to play each season? What are kind of the stories that you would say, being a part of that state championship team in high school, and then how you can drive that and motivate them kind of along that class of play?
Well, I think, that's ultimately everybody's goal going into the season, and just, sharing with them stories from it and how it worked out. And, that even for state championship teams, there's always adversity during a season. And we are going to have adversity, and how do we, overcome it and work through it and things like that. And it's just, taking them to the NPR and showing them the trophies and the trophy cases and hey, we could be in here and we could be recognized and things like that. So it's not too hard to challenge them and motivate them, I think. But the thing is, you talk about it at the beginning of the season, but you got to kind of bring those points back up throughout the season. Have those team meetings, have those conversations. Hey, here's where we're at. Here's where we want to get. If we want to get to that state tournament or those state championships and things, we're going to have to change some things and overcome these things and things like that. But yeah.
Coach Swanson?
I just, I agree with what you're saying, Ryan. I think one of the hardest parts now is I think the games, no matter what sport it is, have changed drastically over the past 10 or so years, where off-season workouts have become a lot more relevant and needed for individuals to go further for, basketball, football, baseball, to make state tournaments or playoffs. I think the hardest thing anymore is trying to get the kids involved and excelling in the off-season workouts, which the biggest one is like weights, conditioning, and all that, because, kids don't sometimes see the full benefit of getting in the weight room right away because the results don't happen instantly. But, putting in the time in the off season, I think that's one thing that I think you all would agree is one of the key components of making a state tournament run, because those moments in the off season are what prepare you for the things during the season, and handling all that business throughout the whole season is where it begins, is the off season preparations itself. So, Ryan, what do you expect this upcoming basketball season to look like if we're not allowed to do much during the summer? That's something, Banks and I have been talking about, is if we're not allowed to have open gyms, in the summer, or weightlifting sessions, or go to team camps, how do you think this upcoming basketball season will look a little bit different?
Well, and again, that's where those kids gotta, they gotta want it themselves, and they're gonna have to put in the time on their own. And that's, us giving them drills or contests or doing things to motivate them and push them. But, and again, it's going to be that everybody's going to be in that same boat. A couple weeks ago, I was on, I did a Zoom thing, and Coach Jennings, who's going to be on this show, I believe next week, was talking about at Whitewater, they have a culture of success. Like they, so what are their players going to do during this time? Are they going to just take that to their advantage and be lazy, or are they going to keep working? So, again, I think we all hope our athletes are going to continue to work and want to get better, because those that, and it's going to show come season. Again, if we can't do anything until fall and kids are back in school, and that's when we can do some open gyms, and we can't have any one-on-one or the time that we usually have in the summers. We'll know who's been working and who's not, and the strong will survive.
Yeah, I think Coach Hines, Coach Doherty and I love Coach Hines. Okay, we're just throwing that out there. But he had one of those comments that said, we're going to know, if you took the initiative to get better. We're going to know if you took the initiative, to work out, doing this, that, and the other. It's going to be pretty easy to see that. Now, again, this is a question for all of us here. But if you noticed how do we tackle this this new generation of student athlete that's been in this video game? This what do they call that game where they're going around shooting people, Ryan?
Fortnite?
Yeah, exactly. So we live in this Fortnite generation, or this technologically advanced society, and it's not all so bad. But how are we going to reach these hard to reach student athletes to begin with? Moving forward, how are we going to evolve? With the times.
It's a good question. Again, I think there's a lot of that starts at home. And, what are parents expecting of their kids as well? Are they letting them stay up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning playing video games and things like that? Or are they still getting the adequate sleep and getting their workouts in and stuff? But, when I was in college, in high school, I played video games all the time. I mean, we skipped class. We had NCAA football. We would skip and we would do the drafting or, the recruiting phases all as a house and stuff. And so, don't get me wrong. I love video games and stuff too. But, again, I think it's the kids got to have to want to do things, and then again, it also starts with parents and making sure that they're limiting a lot of that. I mean, I have a 5-year-old, and I limit her iPad time. Go play, go do stuff, go outside. Let's go places. And she's only 5, and she'll start the morning with it, and that's about it. But again, everybody's in a different household and different society, and everybody does things a little bit differently. So, I think the athletes that really want to get better will continue to get better during this time and not just play 2K or Fortnite or whatever.
I have to throw this out there. Maybe this is why we were always on the ball diamond or in the court. It's because we had Atari. Atari sucked. Atari sucked. It was terrible. All right, Coach Doherty, dig into his soul here with your question.
This is a fun one for me. Wilson, I'm sure you get asked a lot because I know I do, and it's always a fun conversation. Why did you come back to Fort Madison? Why Fort Madison?
Yeah, it's a good question. So right out of college, I was down in Jacksonville, Illinois, and was working, and then came home around Christmas time and went and met with my high school baseball coach, Dick Burst, at the high school, and just kind of had a conversation with him, and he said, "Hey, I think the Y is hiring for a program director. You should stop over and check it out." And so I went over, and the director at the time, his name was Jason Jones. I asked about it, applied and whatnot, and luckily it was in my hometown, and applied, got the job, started February 18th of 2008, and been here ever since. But it's funny. I was in Cedar Rapids for a semester. I was at Bemidji State University, 10 hours away from home for 2.5 years. Then I graduated down in Jacksonville, Illinois, which was only about 2 hours from here. And it's kind of funny how it all worked out and led right back here to Fort Madison, and I haven't regretted it since.
We do have a question, and this one's kind of a tough one, but you know what? All of us coaches are going to dig into this one. This is from Robert Jones. Said, a lot of entitled kids on my team. I'm getting ready to kick one off this week. Any of you have to remove a player from your squad?
During season, I haven't. I somewhat removed a kid from our program, so it would have been a couple years ago. We're in our summer league, and we're playing literally the very last game of the summer league. And just one kid had a complete attitude problem, and I told him to go sit in the stands, that he was done playing, to go sit in the stands, and told me to turned and told me to shut up. And ever since that day, he was not a part of my basketball program. But, I guess that would be the only time that's something I've had to deal with in removing from my program.
I'll dig in second, and I'll let the other coaches jump in. In 20 years, I don't think I've ever removed a student athlete from a team. Now, that doesn't go to say that they did not want to. I just did not do that because I didn't think it would be good for me, the community, nor the student athlete. And, what's awesome is I have a good relationship with that particular athlete today.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had to do that. It's so difficult to try to do those things anymore because of the backlash that you can receive. I mean, I think we can all agree that coaches are under a microscope, and a lot of parents and people wait for you to put one toe out of line and try to find a reason to get rid of you. It's a tough thing to talk about. It's a tough decision to have to be made. I mean, to me, to kick a kid off the team, he has to be truly detrimental to your program's culture. It can't just be because he behaves maybe a certain way periodically. I mean, you have to really dig into deep and find a good reason to kick a kid off the team, in my opinion. The bench is the coach's best friend sometimes. Just sit the kid down. If he doesn't like it, then maybe he will quit himself. That's always a resort to go to instead of kicking a kid off the team. It's just tough to do it. But we'll see.
Coach Hodges, I know that you have a story, but try to keep it to 30 seconds because otherwise you'll go for 45 minutes.
No, my first year as a head baseball coach at Centerville, I had to I kicked a kid out of practice, and his younger brother wanted to go, and it was kind of one of those times for me as a coach to kind of get the reins of the guys, and I ended up kicking him out of practice. His younger brother stayed. And then I let him come back. It was a team decision. I wanted him back. It was a team decision, obviously, though. And I told him he was a junior, and I said, "You're going to pitch JV and work your way back up to varsity. That's how we're going to do things." And he did it. And I didn't have any problems with him after that. And unfortunately, that student athlete has passed, and it passed in a car accident a few years ago. And so he and I had a great relationship, like Chuck just said, with his athlete. And I will say one thing here, and I'm pretty transparent, but I looked down here at the follow-up about the DUI, tried to flood the baseball field and that kind of stuff. I guess, again, I'm transparent, but if he's not a complete cancer maybe to the team and bringing everybody else down, it looks like to me the guy needs somebody maybe like you, Coach, to help him turn his life around a little bit. My junior year of college, I got a DUI. My buddies and I tried to turn the sprinklers on to get a game canceled like Bull Durham. It didn't happen. So I think we've all done some of those things, but I think nowadays kids just need us more than what they really need the game. And so I think maybe it's one of those things. Yeah, it might have to come to that point if he's a complete cancer to the team, but you might have to just put your arm around him too and help him through some things.
And what I've noticed is, since fatherhood and even grandfatherhood is even worse. But it's kind of softened me a little bit on, what I mean, going hardcore, being old school, new school, whatever, however you want to say it. It's kind of softened me up a little bit, and that kind of brings me into a great question, Coach Wilson. We see the basically the end here recently of all these old school coaches, and many of them, they have great stories to tell. But for whatever reason, community after community is getting rid of some of these old school coaches. Now, I would not consider myself to be an old school coach, but sometimes that flash and pizzazz comes out, especially during games. I know Coach Bryant, he could probably smile, and he's probably seen a little old school Banks, occasionally. But, what do you think of that? I mean, I know sports and student athletes are going to evolve, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's definitely changing. You think about the old school coaches. I'm sure one coach that everybody thinks of is Bob Knight and the way he was, and people are like, how in the world was that guy a coach for so long and got away with what he did? And it was, it was allowed. Coaches today probably don't cuss in as near as much as they used to. Now, I know there are coaches that do, obviously, and I try to minimize mine to as much as I possibly can and whatnot. But it is, I think it's unfortunate where things have gone and how, you use the word soft, we are, because, kids and parents, if they don't like something you say or something you're doing, they're going to go, they're not afraid to go to administration and try to get coaches fired, So, I can be pretty stubborn, I guess would probably be the right word, in my ways on things and and try to enforce them as much as I possibly can. And thankfully, I haven't had a whole lot of issues with parents in my 5 years as a head coach. And so I think you just put your program together, put your handbook together, and just stick to it. And I think some of those old school coaches are definitely appreciated. I know I learned some things from some of the old school coaches, and it's definitely a different culture per se of coaching now than probably what it was 20 years ago when I was in high school.
Coach Hodges, I am going to dig in here, and we'll try to get Coach Huseman on someday if we can work that technology thing out. Now, he just recently got back in this coaching gig up in Moravia, and he's as old school as it gets. Has he tamed down, or is he still the same old Bill?
Oh, I think there's sometimes. I haven't got to see him coach at Moravia, obviously, but I know from me playing against him in high school to when I was his assistant, he mellowed a lot. And, there were still times where – actually, the funny thing is one year we were over at Fort Madison and playing, and they just beat us. And it was the year after they had won the state title, so 2009. And the Maymoths were everywhere over there at the field. And I'll never forget, he had them all over him. And I think he just got more and more pissed as they kept getting on him. And he finally cut his rant short. And he told me, he used a few explicits and said, "Get these blankety blank things off of me." And I couldn't help but laugh. But yeah, I think he's mellowed a little bit.
Yeah, no,
he's pushing 70. I hope so.
Yeah. Coach Bryant, you've had a few old school coaches, Coach Hoffman being one, right? And I remember a story. Coach Hoffman very much similar. He says, Chuck, get these sweat bees away from me. Can we spray them? Can we?
Yeah. He hated the sweat bees. He made the janitors go out every week, just hosing the whole field, and I think it made it worse.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Coach Wilson, do you ever have any pet peeves when it comes to how you're whether it's organizing open gyms, organizing your practices, or making sure that your gym's clean? Do you have any pet peeves in regards to that? Things that
Yep. My biggest pet peeve is basketballs left on the floor. We do not allow basketballs to be left on the floor. They're either in your hand or they're in the ball rack, and that's just one of my biggest things. If they're not being used, go put them away. But I don't want people walking into practice or whatever and basketballs just laying all over the ground. So that would be my biggest pet peeve when it comes to practice and stuff.
Yeah, Coach Doherty, I'm sure you're the same way.
Yeah, on the football field or at practice, my biggest one is helmets off. I don't know why it drives me nuts, but if you're on a football field, have your helmet on, you know where it's at, the button up and go. In the weight room, I hate it when kids leave weights out. It drives me bonkers, and they know that, so they try not to do it.
What about right after you get your floor finished and then they have donkey basketball the next weekend?
Oh, jeez.
Don't get me started. I didn't know that was an actual thing until I moved to Iowa. Apparently it is.
I think all six of us should get a team next year. I don't know.
I'm relief for that.
I want to see Coach Hodges on a donkey, number one.
Chuck, you'd have to get a horse.
Well, no. I would have to get I'd have to get an Amish mule, probably. Anyway. Sorry, Coach Wilson. I went completely off the deep end this evening. That's just the way it is, right?
Totally fine.
Okay, here's a great question, and this can get us back to being serious. What do you want to instill in your student athletes? Whereas 10 years down the road, you can have a gauge. Whereas 10 years down the road, you thought, you know what, I made a difference in that kid's life, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we preach for Fort Madison basketball is attitude and effort. Attitude and effort all day. You as a basketball player, you control those, and you can be the best you can be the best shooter on the floor, in the area, in the state, whatever you want to say. But if your effort is half-ass or not there, and your attitude's terrible, A, your teammates aren't going to want to play with you, and B, your attitude affects your effort. So if you have a bad attitude, you're probably not going to play hard and things like that. So, that's the biggest thing that, I want people to take away from our basketball program is those two things. And if they can give 100% on both of those in the right way, then we'll be successful.
Coach Bryant, I can't believe it's already been 35 minutes in and I haven't asked you to ask a question. I apologize, brother.
It's okay. Coach Wilson, what was your opinion on your high school athletes looking at the next level? So I know Coach Swanson took some of his guys to a Culver-Stockton game just to see what the performance is like at the next level. So have you done anything like that, or maybe just taking a whole team to go watch a practice at the college level, anything like that?
Yeah, so we've, the last few years we've sent some kids off to play college basketball. Cam Chrisman went and played at Mid-American Nazarene, and a couple years ago we went down and watched him play at Culver-Stockton. A couple years ago we went to Indian Hills SEC basketball games. We'd go to Buffalo Wild Wings and go to the Indian Hills SEC game, which I'm sure everybody knows the War on 34, and that level of basketball is as good as it gets nationwide in the JUCO area. So we've even went over to Monmouth one time to a basketball game to watch the Blue Boys, of course, Doherty, because I know you're a Scott, but we went over to watch the Blue Boys and some things like that. So, no, I'm all for that. Getting those guys out, go watch some higher level and see how things are done. We haven't went and watched any college basketball practices, but that would be definitely something I'd like to do. I'm sure we could go up and watch Coach Watkins at SEC, Coach Huseman at Iowa Wesleyan, and I know some other college coaches in the area. But, so I'm all about that. And the biggest thing with that kind of stuff, though, is the team bonding and the team building and that kind of stuff as well. You get out of that. You're not in the basketball court. You're not you're not in the locker room. You're out in the world, the public together, and you learn a lot about each other then too.
Coach Swanson, do you have a question?
Yeah, one thing, and I know you kind of talked about the two things you want your kids to have your program are attitude and effort. What role does trust play within your program? Because I know, Coach Banks and I with our kids, we've talked all about trust. And, if you don't show up to summer weights, how can the rest of the kids trust you to put in all the work, put in all the effort and all that stuff? So what role does trust play within your program?
Well, it's a huge one because, if you can't trust and you don't have that trust and you can't depend on them, I guess that'd be another word you could put with trust and depend. If they're not going to come work in the off season and do your team stuff, how are they going to be able to perform come season? And how can you expect them to show up and be ready to go come November 15th or whatever that first day of practice might be? And the other thing with trust, we've had a couple kids quit during the basketball season. And then they wanted to come back the next year. And I've had that conversation with them. I'm like, well, I can't trust that you're going to, not quit on me again. You're going to quit on your teammates again. And we've had some kids quit and not come back. And, it's tough. It's a conversation you have to have, though. And, it's a big deal, I think.
Can you tell when some of your players don't trust one of the other teammates?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I think one of the hardest thing is for kids to realize that their teammates don't trust them. I think a lot of the kids realize that, well, I'm here, so I deserve the equal time or equal respect from everyone else. And I think if we as coaches realize that that's not always the case, that you haven't shown up all summer and you walk in first day of practice and everyone else has been here all summer in the previous months, there's going to be a little resentment or a little frustration with that individual.
Right. Well, and it's, I won't say names. You'll probably know who I'm talking about. I kind of went through my program and your program recently, and it's like, well, if you're going to quit 1 week into the season and then go to another school and then come back and then you want to try to play again next year, it's like how, why? There's just I don't understand it. And so if you're going to jump ship because you don't like things or you don't want to play this position or you think you should play here and I'm playing the kid, something else or whatever it might be, it goes both ways. And hope is that, the players also trust us as coaches and buy into that as well.
Time and time again, I read about these college coaches. One question they ask is how many different high schools did you play for, and that's pretty important to them. Now we're getting down. Can you believe we've almost talked our 45 minutes, Ryan?
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly. Well, we'll definitely get you on again soon. I want to make sure that Coach Hodges gets his question out because I can see it on his face. He's got a question.
Yeah, I do, Chuck. So you can read me pretty well. Don't talk to my wife. What do you guys do on the mental side of things? I know, you see a lot of talk of I'm not really around the basketball world, but what do you guys do basketball-wise for the mental side?
It's a good question. Probably not as much as we should, to be completely honest. We do have a lot of team meetings before practices and even after practices and talk about, different things, where we're at in the season, just to make sure we're all on the same page mentally and kind of rehash our goals and objectives and what we want to accomplish. And when it comes down to that kind of stuff, I really lean on my seniors and upperclassmen for those kind of things. But, like I said, mentally, it's tough to do, in my opinion, during the season. And I would, I'd be open to ideas and things on what others do in that area.
Well,
I don't think we're doing enough.
What Coach Swanson does is he puts kids on the line. You got 15 players, and they have to make 13 out of 15.
Teaching the mental side of a sport it's more difficult anymore. You can say kids might have more sheltered lives or they're treated differently, but teaching kids the mental aspect, how to overcome adversity and how to handle certain situations, unless they're put in it time and time again, you can draw everything up on the board, and as soon as the timeout's over with, it's out their ears, it's out the door. They don't remember it all the time. I think it's getting tougher to teach the mental aspect of sports because our time is so limited with the kids. When we go in practices, we can try to get as much in as possible, and we hope they catch on the mental side, but that's not always the case. It's one of the tougher things to coach anymore, I think.
Well, and I guess I was thinking more, and I'm glad you brought that up, Coach Swanson, that the mental part of plays and structure, those kind of things. And so I'll touch on that real quick, but we rep our plays, our inbound plays, all of our baseline out of bounds plays, all our sideline plays, all of our special plays. I bet we rep, a week, probably at least 2 hours a week. Yep. 5-on-0. Go run this play. All right, run these 3 plays. Run this. Because, again, when you get into the game and there's 10 seconds left and you're going to try to draw a special play up, well, if they haven't repped it and they don't know how the play unfolds and what we want out of the play, they're not going to do it. Yep. And so I'm glad you brought that point up. So we do a lot of mental reps, 5-on-0 type stuff. I've even had them draw up the plays and put them on paper and bring them back. And there was an assignment where we went to over Christmas break, before we went to scrimmage, made the kids, basically the varsity guys, divide up. We get 55 shots a game. Who do you guys think should be taking these shots? So that was a challenge thing for them to really think about and break down and stuff. So.
Okay, guys, I want to make sure that I give away this book here, and I've got my random generator going with people that have commented this, that, and the other. So can I get a drum roll? Okay, Julie Doherty. So Mama, you want a book? I'll get it to your son this week, and I'll have him personally deliver it, signed from yours truly. But anyway, Coach Wilson, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on, brother. I appreciate everything you're doing. Definitely want to get you on again in the near future.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like I said, it was a lot of fun, and I'd love to be back on with you guys, and I'll probably tune in next week with Coach Jennings and continue to tune in and listen and whatnot. So again, I appreciate it.
Fantastic. Well, anyway, what coming up on CCA? We just got a whole lot busier, folks. April 26th, Joe Freitag. If I mispronunciate Coach Doherty, holler at me. Okay, May 3rd, Peter Jennings, and he's also with Whitewater, correct? Peter Jennings?
Yeah, Whitewater.
Okay. May 10th, we're going to have Captain Ethan Mormon, former state wrestling champ, He's going to be, he's a former Big Red too, so Centerville Nation will be excited. May 17th, Wallace Carter, and May 24th, we got MMA Uprising.